the post-apocalypse. You'll love it, you'd love it. I mean, look at these numbers. This shit is so profitable and you clicked on a Metro video, so statistically you love it too.
Now consume.
What's there not to love? Exploring modern-day city ruins with piles of gray rubble everywhere, bodies, freakish mutants that attack me if I don't give them any vent. The closest I can get to this in real life is Detroit. But hey, at least in the apocalypse, you don't have to pay any taxes. Now, Metro is a game series based on the novel Metro, where humanity nuked each other potentially due to some conflicts in the Middle East. I'm just gonna leave that there. But it causes the global collapse of society, which is bad for the stock market. In the city of Moscow, however, there are people who are able to survive in the Metro. And as time went on and the surface turned more and more hostile, they made the underground Metro their home and adapted. Realizing the dire situation of the globe, they set aside their differences and banded together as one city, one people, one... Why do I even bother? So we're back to our squabbles of disagreeing and infighting, but at least while that's going on, you can explore this very atmospheric world that just consumes you with its tone. All the while you discover, sneak, and by sneak I mean get spotted and slaughter everyone because you're bad at stealth, and experience the story of this world, all within the Metro.
Now you have me. Damn, you are quick, Artyom.
Artyom.
Now, the first two Metros are both incredible games, from their fun stories and memorable characters to their pretty decent gameplay to where they really shine with their atmosphere that just drags you in. Whether it's exploring the destroyed surface, ruined buildings, or the Metro itself, every part of this world is chock full of things that grab your attention. Even in a game where we're closer to the date it was based in than the day it was released, this stuff still holds up pretty well in this cursed year. Speaking of things that hold up pretty well, we have the combat, which while not being anything particularly special, oh look, shoot bad guy, he's dead, I still had a lot of fun with it as I would take cover and suppress fire, especially with how enemies would react to being hit. Although sometimes it would confuse me on if they're either getting hit or if that's just a dying animation. It also helps that the design of these weapons really feel like they were made in the post-apocalyptic setting with whatever parts people could get their hands on. But hey, if you don't like the combat, then these games really like to push the player to use stealth. Now, stealth isn't bad per se, I just usually prefer the run and gun playstyle, and it probably has more of an impact on harder difficulties when combat is actually difficult and ammo is about as common as a funny joke in an anxious hazmat video.
Does this entertain you?
I did think that the stealth definitely had its fun moments with the way NPCs would respond to finding the player, as well as how they would respond to losing you, feeling decently realistic. Although you'll still get those classic "must have been the wind" moments after they see a fully grown man with an assault rifle, sniper rifle, a shotgun bigger than some children, and enough gear to arm a small squad walk past a doorway. Speaking of your gear, one element of the Metro games that I really enjoy is how you have to constantly maintain your gear as you play. From keeping your gas mask from breaking, to changing your filters,
You have to change these?
to keeping your battery charged, to keeping your weapons loaded. There's a surprising amount of things you need to monitor, although I never really found any of it annoying or overwhelming. So even though these actions take your hands off your weapon, thus making you unable to shoot whatever you're attacking, they really make it feel like you're having to maintain your gear, which is something you'd have to worry about in this world. Now, this isn't to say that these games are flawless, and that's where really my only big gripe comes in with them, with their fucking karma system, where in both games they have a system where exploring, listening to people talk, and doing good deeds grants you karma, and if you earn enough karma by the end of the game, you get the happy good ending, and if you don't, well then everything explodes. Now, while the idea of having a point system that rewards you for experiencing all the content in the game and pushes the player to make good decisions is a cool idea, it feels like to get the good ending you need to make every good decision not fuck up at all. Like in Last Light in particular, I explored as much as I could, did as many good deeds as I thought I could, and I still got the bad ending. It just makes it feel like I need to have a tutorial for every good option for these 2 6-hour games on my second monitor if I want the good ending, which isn't fun. On the bright side, the bad ending of the first game is canon, so me messing that up is supposed to happen. Just like how I'm supposed to be a contributing member to society. Ah, Metro Exodus. The one that made me discover Metro when I saw the gameplay trailer and was like,
Ooh, new apocalypse game.
so I immediately went to the Xbox store and discovered these 2 gems to get me ready for the new one to come, and then it came. and it was beautiful. It introduced new mechanics, new variety with its world while still giving us a healthy batch of what we come to know and love of the game series called Metro. Kept the identity while slapping on every NVIDIA DLSS ray tracing filter over it until your PC killed itself. Now while it's not perfect, no game ever is, I still definitely think it's another solid addition to the Metro franchise and my personal favorite of the series. For starters, this game is still able to use atmosphere and detailed world to immerse the fucking shit out of you. I think it also helps that the Metro games do a really good job at using mostly diegetic UI to convey information to the player, where instead of having a minimap in the corner with a flashy ammo counter, a radiation bar, a symbol that tells you if you're detected, a bar that tells you how erect you are, the game just implements most of them into the world itself. You have a watch that tells you not only the time of day, but also how much air is left in your filter, a little light that tells you if you're illuminated, thus making you easier to spot, or when you use your map, you pull out a physical map instead of it just popping up on your screen. There still are some non-diegetic HUD elements like an ammo counter, but it goes away when it's not needed. It all does a surprisingly great job at keeping your eyes focused on the world in front of you, and the world in front of you is gorgeous. God, this game is pretty. Although how they did the health in this game has always pissed me off because they don't have a health bar and instead do the bloody screen, which is fine. However, they added a really loud heartbeat that I fucking hate. Especially because if you enter a cutscene while damaged, well then have fun experiencing that whole cutscene while wondering if you're going through cardiac arrest.
So I really enjoy this game. It's a lot of fun and it's just...
Are you okay?
Oh yeah, I'm just constipated.
Like, it worked the same in the older Metros, but in those games I never got stuck in a cutscene where it forced me to listen to my own heartbeat. Well, at least they made the karma system make sense, so I'll take a heartbeat that sounds like it could pump enough water to fuel an AI data center over that. Oh, maybe not. See, the karma system in previous games was it would give you good karma if you did good deeds and explored, which worked, but it would lead to a lot of scenarios where you explore a small corner and your screen flashes white and you're left there wondering if this obscure corner was morally equal to letting that one guy live earlier. But in this game, it's a lot more straightforward and easier to understand, at least for me. For example, in the desert section of this game, a lot of points of interest that would give you good karma are marked directly on your map, and them helping you get the good ending makes sense, since in this section of the game you're going to most of these points to hurt the local slavers, and if you do all of them, well then you really hurt their operation, thus making your squad mate who would have otherwise wanted to stay to help the war against these slavers come with you since you've already done a lot to hinder them. It's simple, it makes sense, and I like it, because it makes it so it's possible to get the good ending without having to memorize every random corner you need to explore. And it's not like exploring these points of interest are boring either, since most of them will lead to some fun interactions and upgrades for your character. They also house the most valuable resource any game could, with loot. Loot that will help you craft ammo and clean your gear, which can be done in the workbenches, which were part of the older games as vendors, but in this game it's been expanded with additional upgrades and a backpack which allows you to modify your weapon on the fly. There are just so many little features in these games that really add a lot to them, all of which took a lot of effort to make, especially when you take into account all the animations they added for all these little features. Like, I'm a real sucker for fun expressive animations, and these games give it to you in droves. Especially since your character Artyom doesn't talk, except outside of loading screens oddly enough, so they have to use the animations and his grunts to communicate to the player what he's thinking. But yeah, that's all I have to talk about. There's nothing really to add when it comes to these narrative-driven games with lots of lore and characters. Oh. So the story of Metro has you play as Artyom, which the games will always be happy to remind you of. And it starts with you meeting your dear friend Hunter, who's a Spartan from an organization called the Order. I guess you could say they ordered him here. So you talk with him and he tells you of these hideous mutants that can destroy your mind called the Dark Ones. So as a result, your friend Hunter goes off to Polis where the Order resides to inform them of this threat, but he's never heard of or seen again.
Your name is Hunter.
So to complete his mission, you head to Polis yourself, fighting through droves of fascists, communists, and capitalists that stand in your way. And as you do, you learn more about this world, its inhabitants, and meet friends that come and go as quickly as my will to live when I read the news.
The government is now forcing all men to get big, giant...
Anyway, after eventually meeting with the Spartans, they help bring you to Polis, where you inform the local government of the threat. And Artyom must have the persuasive powers of me recommending a new game to my friends. Because it doesn't work for shit. For the record, Lane, OpenFrontIO is not a virus, it's a fun game, now join me. Although thanks to your relationship with Hunter, the Spartans led by a man named Miller do believe you, so they help you get to the facility D6 so you can shoot the enemies with nuclear warheads. And once you take the facility, you climb a massive tower and set up the targeting system, and it is here where you can get either one of the two endings. The good ending is you set aside your fear and let the Dark Ones live, and humanity lives in peace and prosperity, and racism ends, homophobia ends, transphobia, arachnophobia, it all ends. So obviously this ending isn't canon, because the canon ending is you turning the Dark Ones into a new state of matter, to which the game's credits roll and we move on to the story of Metro Last Light, where the story starts 1 year later and you find out that one of the Dark Ones have survived. And to make sure it doesn't follow in Japan's footsteps, we're tasked to kill it Kennedy style. Although you learn that it is just a child and to kill it would be wrong, which is why I prefer to kill it miles away with ballistic missiles, so I don't have to witness my crimes. However, even if you did want to kill it, you can't, since the Nazis capture it and you. So the rest of this game is you fighting fascists, communists, and capitalists to try and find the last Dark One. Once again, making new friends and even meeting your future Don't question where I got fake boobs from. Anyway, as you adventure, you find out that the Dark Ones weren't trying to hurt humanity, they were trying to help them evolve and survive in this new world. All it cost was immense psychological trauma. Awesome, one down, what's next? God damn! Meanwhile, the communists are devising a plan to invade D6 since it's chock full of armaments anyone would want. I mean, how else am I gonna win my game of, Hold Fast? Yeah, but thankfully due to his fear of children, we're able to probe the leader for information on the attack. No, not that kind of probe. So you and your squad headed D6 to defend it for a pretty cool-ass final stand mission. But if Russians are good at anything, it's tossing men into the After all, if you have more men than they have bullets, well, the math does itself. So you're overwhelmed and lose. And it's here again where, depending on your actions in the game, i.e. did you have a tutorial up on every single nook and cranny you needed to explore, you can get one of two endings. The bad ending is you self-destruct the facility to stop the communists from taking it, and Anna gives birth to your son and teaches them of your legendary story. But the good/canon ending is the Dark Ones forgive you for making them an endangered species and save you and your friends by fighting off the communists. And they walk off promising to come back someday. But yeah, that's where Metro left off. We're up 5 to 6ish years until we got the release of Metro Exodus, where it starts with Artyom trying to find people outside of Moscow. I guess Artyom must have gotten really sick of all the communist, fascist, capitalists. However, your radio doesn't get any signal and you're told that you're crazy. Crazy? I was crazy once. They locked me in a room for thinking that there was life outside of Moscow, which I feel like isn't that crazy of a thought, but I guess with the power of propaganda, you can make people believe anything. However, our team isn't afraid of suicide if he had 2 bullets in the back of the head because he doesn't believe the government for shit and continues to look for any sign that people are out there, until he and Anna eventually discover a functioning train. Oh, and also our team's suspicions were confirmed to be real. People do in fact live outside of Moscow, but the local government was using jammers to halt communications outside because they were worried that Russia was under enemy occupation. Any radio signals would lead to Moscow being invaded when reality the whole world was out there just trying to survive. So it's like when you discover that your genitals are used for more than just peeing. Now, after Artyom learns of this truth and evades death, he and his wife Anna escape by stealing a train, but are intercepted by your best buddies at the Order, who thankfully side with you and commit treason, because you're not a real friend unless you commit an executable offense for your homies. So you all escape Moscow and are excommunicated from the city you've all spent 20 years living in, although eventually you discover that the Russian government is still operational. So you set off to find them, and on your way you meet with locals, expand your train, and gain a few crew members until eventually you do reach the Russian government. But it turns out that they're just cannibals who want to eat you. You know, something tells me this is like an allegory. But realizing that the plane was a bust, you spent the rest of the game trying to find a safe place to live. So you traverse the lands and search for it, but it turns out that Anna got a really bad cough from a bunker she fell in, so you and your crew adventure to a city coated in radiation. And it's here where you find a cure to Anna's affliction and a satellite map of a safe place to live. Oh, and also a child, but don't worry about him, he's not important. However, because radiation turns your cells from an innie to a... You and your father-in-law Miller are not having a good time. Thankfully, you're able to reach your friends, although for Miller it was too late. And for you, well, it's here where, once again, you're gonna get one of 2 endings. The good ending is thanks to you doing good deeds throughout the story, your crew members stayed with you, making it so that when you needed a blood transfusion, there was enough people to replace a fully grown man's body worth of blood. Holy shit. So you survive and find a beautiful place to call home with your friends, and you all live happily ever after. The bad ending is you just bleed out and die. So Metro, a beautiful series that captures you with its immersive, atmospheric world, all while telling you the legendary tale of Artyom. Which, if you really do want to get the most out of these games, I would definitely recommend listening to a lot of the conversations that people have in them. Like, to me, it was especially impactful in Metro Exodus since 90% of the time it was your friends aboard the Aurora, so it made you feel more connected with them. Like, even though this is my 5th time playing this game, after listening to a lot of the conversations with Miller and hearing his excitement to see his grandchildren and make them his cute little cadets, it honestly makes it so sad when he dies. And so much effort goes into these tiny interactions that most people will skip because they just want to get to the fun shooty bang bang parts. But these conversations you hear add so much to this world and how you perceive it. Not to say you should listen to all of them, a lot of them are pretty long and can be boring after a bit, but if you do play this game, whether it's your 1st or 5th time, definitely listen to a few because they add so much to the experience. But yeah, I really love Metro as a series and I look forward to seeing the new one being released in a year. Oh god. And with that, thanks as always for watching, and remember to eat your protein and vote for me in the next Russian election.
Freaking